Hello and welcome to this webinar. So as you see on the screen, this is an exclusive product unveiling for Nosto customers. The title of this webinar is Increasing Customer Engagement Through Omnichannel Personalization. Yes, it is about using personalization in Omnichannel. Very exciting. We're very happy to have you with us. So quickly, I am Lucas Weber. I'm the host of this webinar. You can see I'm the Product Marketing Manager at Nosto. So the agenda for today. First, I'm going to unveil two new products. Then we're going to talk about the main challenge that these products solve. And then I want to walk through some example shopping experiences. This is the really fun part where you get to use your imagination and think how this could be applicable to you and your business. Then I want to talk very briefly about how it works technically, but this isn't going to be very deeply technical. I just want to go quick overview on that. And then we'll have time for some questions. So, as I mentioned, this is a dual product launch. This is very exciting for us. So you can see there 1 and 2, and if I just transition the slide, you'll see the names of these products. So the first one is called In-Store Personalization, and the second one is Mobile App Personalization. And I will walk through how these work and what that actually means and how you can implement that. But it is very exciting. This is a very exciting time for us because in-store, of course, means we now get to start working with your in-store transactional data and personalizing that experience and leveraging that data. And then mobile app is also very important, of course. You can get into the world of mobile. And as we all know, the use of mobile devices for online shopping and for even purchasing online is just increasing every day and every week. So very quick background. So why are we doing this? Why now? Why are these products coming? Well, if you remember, back in September 2018, we had quite a similar launch, exclusive customer webinar, and that was for our new products, Segmentation and Insights, and on-site content personalization. And that was a big step for us because now you could start to segment your customers through Nosto, leverage a lot of data we collect, or all of the data we collect, such as on-site behavioral data, and then displaying content. And that took us a step further than just product recommendations, because now you could actually display personalized content, which could be anything from the navigation bar to the hero banner to actual CTAs. Whatever you want could be changed and personalized for each segment and for each customer. And now we're coming with in-store and mobile app. And the reason why we're doing this now is that these new products are pretty much a delivery method for both product recommendations and content. So now you can push these great powerful algorithms, the content, the recommendations, but into more places, and also unify the data that those touch points actually collect. So a brief word on each now. So in-store personalization, I'll just read this slide for you. So this is about connect your bricks and mortar transactional data and shopper interactions with your on-site behavioral data and transactional data to offer true omni-channel shopping experiences. And you can see the little stat there. It says omni-channel shoppers have a 30% higher lifetime value. So this is obviously, omni-channel is a big topic in the world of e-commerce now. Whenever I go to events, e-commerce events, I listen in on a lot of talks about omni-channel, and I think it's almost synonymous in a way with in-store, because on-site is one thing, right? But then you have in-store, and it's a totally different beast, a totally different world there that you want to try to unify in with your online. And that's what we're now able to do. So as I read there, we can take the transactional data and bring that to the on-site experience. And then vice versa, we can take the data from on-site and try to personalize the in-store experience, which is very exciting. And that's what I'm going to walk you through with these example use cases shortly. If we look at mobile app personalization, again, I'll just read the text here. So have your own native mobile app. Personalize the shopping experience directly inside the app, including content, product recommendations, and pop-ups. And I've listed 3 things here. There's native apps. So that would be, for example, an app that is installed on your Android or iPhone. So you actually download and install that. And then we have progressive web apps and single-page apps. So if you're working with any 3 of these technologies, this is now applicable with this with this new product, and I think that's really exciting. The stat here is 21% of shoppers who use mobile apps end up purchasing. So as I mentioned at the beginning, mobile device usage is just skyrocketing. So having this integration and reaching this touch point is really crucial for us in the personalization world, and of course for you when you just think about omnichannel in general. So, like I promised in the agenda, let's talk about what the main challenge is that these new products are solving. It's the challenge of a multi-channel brand. So I've got 3 bullet points here. First, there are different touch points throughout the shopping journey. I mean, we know this, right? So in the picture there, you can see maybe somebody is shopping and they go in store to your physical store location. They browse, maybe they purchase, maybe they don't. Then you have on-site on a desktop computer. So maybe they go a week later and look at your store on their desktop. And then maybe a couple days later, they'll shop on your store on their phone or their tablet, or maybe they'll see an ad or something. They're like on their social media platform. So there's a lot of different touch points here, and that's part of the issue with multi-channel, is that can you actually unify all of those and turn that into an omni-channel experience? So the issue with that is the data isn't really connected between these different touch points. Maybe it is between some of them, but not all. And this is something that I find really interesting. Whenever I chat with retailers, they typically do say they have almost, in one retailer's words, almost an internal struggle or war, where it's kind of between the e-commerce business development or business unit and the in-store business unit. So it's who can drive more revenue, who can sell more, who can market better, and that's not really the ideal situation, because you want to be working together. You want those people to work together, and that brings us to our third point: that touch points are managed by different people. So you might have an e-commerce manager, you might have an in-store manager, you might have a marketing manager, and then you have different third parties that you're using for software or data collection, whatever it is. And so unifying all of this and making it then relevant, the entire shopping experience and every touch point relevant to the shoppers, that's the challenge that we're trying to solve. So here's a couple of stats that I found quite interesting. So this is about consumer expectation, and it is about the unification of commerce and digital commerce. So I'll just read these one by one. So 90% of consumers said that they expect the customer experience to be consistent across channels and devices. And that, of course, is directly this multi-channel brand issue, is that if they look on your store on their desktop, and then they use their phone, and then they go in store, is it going to be not just consistent across each channel, but is it going to be updated and in real time, so it can reflect their behavior? If they look at a shirt online, will that data somehow be available offline when they go in store? And that's what we can look at in the coming slides. 71% of shoppers who use smartphones for research in store say that it's become an important part of the experience. I could say for myself, when I do go into a store, which isn't that often, but I'm not a big shopper. When I do go into a store, I absolutely always do pull out my phone and just check online for other options, price or availability or color or whatever it is that you're looking at, and just check out what's available. And of course that is about the mobile touch point. And then finally, 30% of omnichannel shoppers have a 30% higher lifetime value than those who shop using only one channel. And of course that speaks for itself there. So if you can get this omnichannel experience and personalization in the omnichannel experience, that's just so important. You can have such a big impact on your customers and their lifetime value. So let's define omnichannel then. So this is, again, where you have all those touch points, and now you can see on the right this picture where we're actually connecting data from all the touch points, and that's what I've been talking about, and that's what Nosto can now do for you. So you can pull in that data and then push out data, push out the content, push out the recommendations to those different touch points, and keep it in real time and keep it relevant for every segment and for every shopper. Extremely powerful and really exciting stuff. And then it's, of course, about creating this 360-degree view of customers and segments. So, that goes hand in hand with connecting the data, because once you know about a segment and how they interact with, for example, your physical store, then you can reflect that in the on-site shopping experience, or vice versa. So you can really get to know the individuals and the segments. So this person viewed this brand 10 times on site. So definitely when they come in store, we should try to recommend that brand to them. And then the third point is offering a personalized and relevant shopping experience in real time, regardless of touch point. So I've mentioned that a few times. It's not good enough to have a delay of a day or a week. We want this in real time. So if they check something on their phone and then they go in store, 5 minutes later, it's already updated, right? The data is there. It's feeding each touch point constantly. And that's the part where you get the consistent, unified experience. Like I said in the agenda, this is the really exciting part. This is where it gets fun, and I encourage you to use your imagination here. Think about the people in your organization, the managers you have in place, the different touch points you're working with, and maybe you're already looking at omnichannel or have some kind of omnichannel going. But then how can you add personalization in there? So I have quite many examples, and this is going to be fun. So multi-channel shopping experience. I just wanted to start with one example that is a poor shopping experience, just to kind of set the tone here for all of the good shopping experiences I'm going to talk about after. So let's say a shopper views sneakers on a desktop, right? They go on their desktop computer, go on your store online, see some sneakers. Then they actually go in store and they purchase those sneakers, okay? Then a week later, the shopper sees an ad on social media for that same item. So now you're promoting a product that they already purchased. That's not a good shopping experience, of course, because they're going to say, what's this? I already purchased them. This is irrelevant to me, right? This is a bad shopping experience. And this is, of course, what we're trying to avoid. And this is the multi-channel challenge. So bear that in mind as we look at some good experiences. So first, the mobile experience. This is a very simple one, just 2 steps. So a shopper views sneakers on the desktop, same thing as before. And then maybe later they browse on their phone and they go into your native app. If you have a native app or a progressive web app or single page app or whatever it is, then they're going to see relevant recommendations. So they didn't purchase the sneakers yet, but they did look at them. And we collect that behavioral data and we analyze it, and then we say, okay, well, they have we can predict there's quite a high buying intent here, and so we will then display those sneakers to the shopper in the mobile app. And that's one of those really crucial touch points there. It's not just the on-site, but it's inside the app itself. And now let's look at in-store and on-site and how they support each other. So this use case is about on-site support for in-store. A shopper purchases sneakers in-store. Okay, they go into your store and they buy them. Then later, they receive an email or they see an ad on social media, whichever, and it's recommending complementary accessories and maybe a t-shirt. So it's not going to, for example, in the bad experience, recommend those same sneakers to them because that's not useful to them at this point. So it's going to say, look, you bought these sneakers, this shirt goes really well with them, or people who bought these sneakers are also interested in these sunglasses. And then the website, let's say they go to the website, so not in social media, not in the email, but they actually visit your on-site store later. The recommendations and content are now personalized to reflect their in-store transactional data. And that's really fun too. So there, it's, we know you purchased these in-store, and now you come to our store online, and you look, and the whole content has changed, right? So the banner effects has changed now to reflect the brand of those sneakers, or whatever it is that the data has shown us to show. That's what we're going to display now. And the product recommendations will be up to date. So it won't, again, on your store show the sneakers. That wouldn't make sense. It will show, again, complementary items. So that's a very strong use case there for on-site support and in-store. If we look at this use case, a shopper purchases sneakers online. Okay, so now they've purchased them maybe on a phone, let's just say. Then they decide they're going to click and collect. So they purchased it, and now they go to your physical store, which is nearby where they live, and they want to get them quickly. They go and they get those sneakers. Now, the sales assistant sees a list of complementary product recommendations for a better experience and higher average order value. And this is kind of where you get to use your imagination. This is where it's fun. So I have a couple of examples here on how this can work. So first of all, you could do an integration with Nosto and your point of sale system. So the person, like in that picture, the sales assistant who's helping this customer do the click and collect, they might actually pull up in their point of sale product recommendations, and then they can say, hey, look, while you're picking these things up, you might also be interested in X, Y, or Z, whatever products make sense. And to do this, there's a couple different ways in the point of sale. So first of all, if they identify themselves personally, so if they give you, for example, their customer loyalty number, some form of identification, then we can actually personalize those product recommendations. And then it goes beyond just the item they just purchased and they're picking up. Then it goes to all of the data we have on them personally. So we know that, okay, they purchased these sneakers online, but in the last year they've been browsing consistently a specific brand or a specific pair of red pants or whatever it is. And then the sales assistant will actually see those product recommendations and say, for you personally, this is something we have in store. You should check it out while you're here. And that's really powerful. If they don't identify themselves with a customer loyalty number, then, or whatever it is, then we can use crowd logic. So of course we can just fall back to that and say, look, most people who bought these sneakers were also interested in this or that, and show that products to them. So that was the one where the sales assistant is actually recommending the products. You could also have this kiosk. This is a really interesting concept we've seen. So it's basically, it could be a tablet or something that's available for customers who walk into the store, physical store, and then they maybe, again, same use cases or same scenario. If they identify themselves in the kiosk, like type in their customer loyalty, then they can be displayed content and recommendations right there in the store for them. And if they don't identify themselves, then the kiosk would just use the crowd logic and say, okay, you're here to click and you collect, what you purchased online, click and collect, or you're looking, whatever you're browsing here in the kiosk, we can recommend recommendations based on that. And then another really interesting concept we've been exploring is actually printing product recommendations on the receipts. So, okay, you purchased the sneakers online, you came to click and collect, so you've picked them up, and here's your receipt. And then they go home and they look at the receipt, and there are actually printed recommendations on that. And I think that's really pretty interesting. It's kind of like, like post-sale marketing or whatever. So, but think about that. Like I said, imagine it. These are just a few use cases. I actually should really highlight that. So if you can think of something that suits you better or something that's even more innovative, we're completely open to that. And we're going to come now to the technology and how we do this. But if you have a great idea, or if you want to explore this, just have a conversation further, then of course ask us, reach out to us. We're very interested in any ideas you have. So how is it done? What is the technology here that's allowing us to do all of this and more? It's called GraphQL. You might be familiar with this. This is a query language, and we have now adopted this. We're using it in our technology. And here you can see in this picture on the right, there's the arrow for Nosto. So that's kind of just symbolizing the power, the technology of Nosto and all the data, everything we're doing in the background. And GraphQL is the bridge to these new products. So GraphQL is how we collect the data from the different touch points and then push out the recommendations and content. You can see that goes to mobile apps, goes to the physical store, and more to come. So we are working on even more touch points and ways to incorporate and use this data. And so GraphQL, again, I promised not to get technical, so this is a very simple picture here. I actually had some lines of code I was going to show, but it just felt like too much. So here I have two simple examples. On the left, you have kind of a traditional REST API. And if you want to accomplish something with REST API, you would probably need to send multiple calls with the REST API. So you would need to send call number 1 You can see there it says get orders. Call number 2 is get email, and then call 3 would be get those recommendations. In GraphQL, we actually only need one call, and that's why one of the reasons why we chose this is that GraphQL really allows us to kind of, or rather allows you, the retailers, to specify exactly what you want to happen. So what is the input event? Somebody viewed a category, somebody viewed a product in your mobile app. Okay, what's the response? Send product recommendations or content, and that can be done with just one call in GraphQL. So it's actually a simplified delivery method. It's very, very useful and powerful. So how do you get up and running? There's a couple ways. I've just listed out 3. So contact your customer success manager at Nosto or your agency partner you're working with through Nosto, and they have already been trained. So we've trained them already before this product launch, and they should definitely have all the info they need to help you or just to answer your questions. And then we have new pages on our website. So we have new product pages for in-store and mobile, and we even have a page for GraphQL, kind of getting more into the details. You can get links from there to our developer.nosto.com, to our GitHub resources, so you can read more there if you're more technical. And then, of course, in lieu of anything else, just email us, sales@nosto.com. But that's it for this webinar. So from my side, thank you, and I hope this was inspirational to you and also educational. You know, the main takeaway here is you can now add personalization into the omnichannel experience, and that's really exciting, and we would really like to be there with you to take you into that next step of the omnichannel journey.